Mom said you wouldn't come anyway. You're always too busy pretending to be important. Emma's brother said it casually, like it was a simple fact rather than a devastating dismissal. They were at a coffee shop, and he just mentioned their father's 60th birthday party. The party that had happened 3 weeks ago. The party Emma hadn't been invited to. I wasn't invited, Emma said slowly. Yeah, well, Mom figured you'd be too busy with work. You know how you are. Emma sat very still, processing this. Her family had thrown a major birthday celebration for her father, invited extended family, friends, colleagues, everyone except her, because they assumed she wouldn't come, because they thought her career made her too important, too busy, too disconnected to care about family. They hadn't even asked. Emma smiled at her brother across the table. You're right, I have been very busy. What her family didn't know was that Emma had just closed the biggest deal of her career. What they were about to discover was that forgetting to invite her to a birthday party was the least of their mistakes. Emma Chen was 35 years old, the chief financial officer of a rapidly growing tech startup in San Francisco, and the family afterthought. Not because she lacked success or achievement, she had both in abundance. She'd graduated top of her class from Stanford with degrees in economics and computer science, worked her way up from junior analyst to CFO in 8 years, and was currently overseeing the financial strategy for a company valued at $500 million. But none of that mattered to her family, because Emma lived in California while they lived in Boston, because she worked 80-hour weeks and couldn't always make it home for holidays, because she was single and childless at 35, which her mother considered a personal failure. In the Chen family, success meant traditional markers: marriage, children, proximity to home. Emma's older brother Kevin was a dentist with a wife and 3 kids, living 20 minutes from their parents. Her younger sister Lisa was a high school teacher, also married with 2 children, living in the same town where they'd all grown up. Emma was the one who'd left. The one who'd chosen career over family. The one who was always too busy to visit, too focused on work to maintain relationships. At least that's how they saw it. The coffee meeting with Kevin happened on a Tuesday morning. Emma was in Boston for a board meeting and had reached out to see if Kevin wanted to get together. He'd agreed, though his tone had been reluctant, like he was doing her a favor. So how's Dad? Emma asked, trying to keep her voice neutral despite the hurt burning in her chest. He's good. The party was great. We had it at the country club. About 100 people showed up. 100 people, yeah. Mom went all out. Catered dinner, live music, the whole thing. Dad gave a speech about family and legacy. It was really nice. Emma took a sip of her coffee, using the moment to steady herself. And no one thought to invite me. Emma, come on. When was the last time you actually made it home for a family event? You missed Thanksgiving. You missed Christmas. You even missed Lisa's baby shower because of some work thing. A board presentation that determined whether my company would secure Series C funding. Yes, that work thing. See, this is what I'm talking about. Everything is always about your job, your career, your important meetings. Meanwhile, the rest of us are here, actually being a family. I'm in Boston right now. I reached out to you. I'm making an effort, because you're here for work, not because you wanted to see us. Emma set down her coffee cup carefully. Kevin, I'm here for work. Yes, but I also wanted to see my family. I wanted to see Dad, and I would have come to his birthday party if anyone had bothered to tell me it was happening. Mom sent out the invitations. Did she? Did she actually send me one? Or did she just assume I wouldn't come and not bother? Kevin looked uncomfortable. I don't know. You'd have to ask her. I shouldn't have to ask. I'm his daughter. I should have been invited automatically. Look, Emma, I get that you're upset, but you have to see it from our perspective. You left. You moved across the country. You chose your career over being close to family. You can't be surprised when we stop expecting you to show up. Emma stood up. She needed to leave before she said something she'd regret. Thanks for meeting me, Kevin. Give my best to Sarah and the kids. Emma, wait. But she was already walking out, her heart pounding, her eyes burning with tears she refused to let fall until she was safely in her rental car. She drove to her hotel, went up to her room and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. Her family had thrown a major birthday party for her father, and hadn't invited her, hadn't even told her it was happening, had simply assumed she wouldn't come and moved forward without her. The hurt was profound and sharp, but underneath it was something else. A cold clarity. She'd spent years trying to balance her career with family obligations, flying home for holidays, despite exhausting travel schedules, calling regularly even when time zones made it difficult, sending gifts, cards, messages, trying to stay connected to people who apparently had written her off as too busy to care. She'd been accommodating their narrative, instead of seeing the truth. They didn't think she was too busy to care. They thought her career made her think she was better than them. They resented her success. And rather than deal with that resentment, honestly, they'd simply decided she didn't matter enough to include. Emma opened her laptop and looked at her calendar. She had a board meeting tomorrow, then she'd planned to stay in Boston for a few days to visit her family. She'd blocked off time specifically to see her parents, to have dinner with Lisa, to spend time with her nieces and nephews. But why? Why was she the only one making effort? Why was she the one trying to bridge a gap that her family kept widening? She canceled her family plans and moved her flight back to San Francisco up to tomorrow evening. Then she opened her email and found the message she'd received 2 weeks ago. It was from a venture capital firm in London. They were recruiting for a CFO position at one of their portfolio companies, a fintech startup that was about to expand aggressively into European markets. The salary was substantially higher than what she currently made. The equity package was significant, and it would mean relocating to London. Emma had been sitting on the offer, unsure about leaving San Francisco, leaving the company she'd helped build, leaving the country, and putting even more distance between herself and her family. Now sitting in a hotel room in Boston, uninvited to her own father's birthday party, Emma realized something important. There was no distance to preserve. Her family had already pushed her away. The only question was whether she'd keep trying to pull herself back, or finally accept their rejection and move forward. She hit reply on the email. I'm interested in discussing this opportunity. When can we schedule a call? The response came within an hour. They wanted to talk immediately. By the time Emma left Boston the next day, she'd had 3 interviews with the London firm, all conducted via video call from her hotel room. They loved her. They wanted her. They were prepared to offer her £250,000 annually, plus equity that could be worth millions if the company succeeded. She accepted their offer before her plane even took off. Her family thought she was too busy pretending to be important to care about them. She'd show them what actually important looked like. Emma set down her coffee cup carefully. Kevin, I'm here for work. Yes, but I also wanted to see my family. I wanted to see Dad. And I would have come to his birthday party if anyone had bothered to tell me it was happening. Mom sent out the invitations. Did she? Did she actually send me one? Or did she just assume I wouldn't come and not bother? Kevin looked uncomfortable. I don't know. You'd have to ask her. I shouldn't have to ask. I'm his daughter. I should have been invited automatically. Look, Emma, I get that you're upset, but you have to see it from our perspective. You left, you moved across the country. You chose your career over being close to family. You can't be surprised when we stop expecting you to show up. Emma stood up. She needed to leave before she said something she'd regret. Thanks for meeting me, Kevin. Give my best to Sarah and the kids. Emma, wait. But she was already walking out, her heart pounding, her eyes burning with tears she refused to let fall until she was safely in her rental car. She drove to her hotel, went up to her room and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. Her family had thrown a major birthday party for her father and hadn't invited her. Hadn't even told her it was happening. Had simply assumed she wouldn't come and moved forward without her. The hurt was profound and sharp. But underneath it was something else, a cold clarity. She'd spent years trying to balance her career with family obligations, flying home for holidays despite exhausting travel schedules, calling regularly even when time zones made it difficult, sending gifts, cards, messages, trying to stay connected to people who apparently had written her off as too busy to care. She'd been accommodating their narrative instead of seeing the truth. They didn't think she was too busy to care. They thought her career made her think she was better than them. They resented her success, and rather than deal with that resentment honestly, they'd simply decided she didn't matter enough to include. Emma opened her laptop and looked at her calendar. She had a board meeting tomorrow, then she'd planned to stay in Boston for a few days to visit her family. She'd blocked off time specifically to see her parents, to have dinner with Lisa, to spend time with her nieces and nephews. But why? Why was she the only one making effort? Why was she the one trying to bridge a gap that her family kept widening? She canceled her family plans and moved her flight back to San Francisco up to tomorrow evening. Then she opened her email and found the message she'd received 2 weeks ago. It was from a venture capital firm in London. They were recruiting for a CFO position at one of their portfolio companies, a fintech startup that was about to expand aggressively into European markets. The salary was substantially higher than what she currently made. The equity package was significant, and it would mean relocating to London. Emma had been sitting on the offer, unsure about leaving San Francisco, leaving the company she'd helped build, leaving the country and putting even more distance between herself and her family. Now, sitting in a hotel room in Boston, uninvited to her own father's birthday party, Emma realized something important. There was no distance to preserve. Her family had already pushed her away. The only question was whether she'd keep trying to pull herself back or finally accept their rejection and move forward. She hit reply on the email. "I'm interested in discussing this opportunity. When can we schedule a call?" The response came within an hour. They wanted to talk immediately. By the time Emma left Boston the next day, she'd had 3 interviews with the London firm, all conducted via video call from her hotel room. They loved her. They wanted her. They were prepared to offer her £250,000 annually, plus equity that could be worth millions if the company succeeded. She accepted their offer before her plane even took off. Her family thought she was too busy pretending to be important to care about them. She'd show them what actually important looked like. Part 2/8 Emma didn't tell her family about the London job. Not immediately. She gave her 2 weeks' notice at her San Francisco company, wrapped up her responsibilities and coordinated the transition of her role to her successor. Her CEO was disappointed but understanding. "This is an incredible opportunity, Emma. We'll miss you, but I get it. Thank you for everything. This company wouldn't be where it is without the groundwork you laid." She spent those 2 weeks apartment hunting in London via virtual tours, coordinating with international movers and handling visa paperwork. It was a whirlwind of logistics and planning, all done quietly, without fanfare. She didn't call her family, didn't update them on her plans, figured she'd tell them once everything was finalized. But then her mother called, 3 days before Emma was scheduled to fly to London. "Emma, I need you to send money for your father's new car. We're splitting the cost among the 3 of you children, and your portion is $12,000. Emma, who was in the middle of packing her apartment, put her mother on speaker and continued wrapping dishes. "Excuse me, your father's car died. We're buying him a new one for his birthday. Your portion is $12,000. Mom, his birthday was 3 weeks ago. The birthday party I wasn't invited to." There was a pause. "Emma, don't start with this again. We've been over it. We haven't been over anything. No one has even apologized. There's nothing to apologize for. You're never available for family events anyway. We simply didn't want you to feel obligated." "Obligated," Emma repeated. "To attend my own father's 60th birthday party." "Emma, this is exactly the kind of attitude that makes family gatherings difficult. Everything has to be about you and your feelings. Can we please just focus on Dad's car?" Emma set down the dish she was holding. "No, Mom, I'm not sending money for a car." "What?" "Emma, this is for your father. Then Kevin and Lisa can split the cost. I'm sure they can afford it. That's not fair to them. You make considerably more money than they do, and whose fault is that? Excuse me, you act like my career is something I do to inconvenience you. Like my success is a personal attack on the family, but I worked incredibly hard to get where I am. And I'm tired of being punished for it. No one is punishing you, Emma. We're asking you to contribute to a family expense. A family I wasn't even included in for Dad's actual birthday. Tell me, Mom, who was at that party? Who was invited? Margaret was silent. Everyone, right? Aunts, uncles, cousins, family, friends. Everyone except me. Because you assumed I wouldn't come. Because it was easier to exclude me than to actually include me and risk me saying no. You never say yes. You never ask. You just assume. And then you resent me for not showing up to things I was never invited to. Emma, you're being dramatic. I'm being clear. I'm not sending money for Dad's car. If you want to buy him a car, that's your choice. But don't expect me to fund family celebrations I'm not part of. Your father is going to be very disappointed in you. He can call me himself and tell me that. Emma hung up. Her hands were shaking, but not from anxiety. From release. She'd been holding in years of hurt and resentment, trying to be the understanding daughter, the one who didn't make waves. Now the waves were crashing, and it felt liberating. Her father didn't call. Neither did Kevin or Lisa. No one reached out to argue or apologize or explain. The silence was clarifying. They weren't even trying to maintain the relationship. They'd simply written her off as difficult, and moved on. Fine. She'd move on too. Emma boarded her flight to London 2 days later. She'd packed what mattered, put the rest in storage, and left San Francisco without a backward glance. The flight was long, giving her time to think about what came next. She'd be starting at Henderson Capital, a fintech company revolutionizing payment systems across Europe. Her role would be complex, challenging exactly the kind of work she loved, and London itself was exciting. A new city, a new culture, a fresh start. She didn't post about the move on social media, didn't send a family email announcing her relocation. If they wanted to know what was happening in her life, they could call and ask. They didn't. Emma landed in London on a rainy Thursday morning, moved into her furnished corporate apartment in Canary Wharf, and reported to work the following Monday. The office was sleek and modern, filled with brilliant people working on cutting-edge financial technology. Her new CEO, a sharp woman named Philippa, greeted her warmly. Emma, welcome. We're thrilled to have you. Your reputation precedes you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Let me show you around, introduce you to the team, and we'll get you set up. The work was immediately consuming in the best way. Henderson Capital was preparing to launch a new digital payment platform that would compete directly with established players like PayPal and Stripe. Emma's job was to ensure they had the financial infrastructure, the funding strategy, and the revenue model to make it work. She threw herself into it completely. Long hours, complex problem solving, high-stakes negotiations with investors. It was exhausting and exhilarating. And for the first time in years, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. She'd been in London for 6 weeks when her mother finally called. Emma, where are you? I've been trying to reach you for days. Emma looked out her apartment window at the Thames, glittering in the evening light. I've had my phone. You could have called any time. I did call. You didn't answer. I've been busy with work. Yes, well, that's what I'm calling about. Your brother mentioned you quit your job in San Francisco. Emma, what's going on? I didn't quit. I accepted a better position. Where? London. The silence on the other end was long and shocked. London. England. London. Yes. When did this happen? I moved here about 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks. Margaret's voice went up an octave. You moved to another continent and didn't tell us. You didn't invite me to Dad's birthday party, and didn't tell me. I guess we're even. That's completely different, is it? You decided I wasn't important enough to include. I decided you weren't important enough to update. Seems pretty similar to me. Emma, this is ridiculous. You can't just move to Europe without telling your family. I can actually. I'm 35 years old. I don't need permission. What about your father? Your siblings? Your nieces and nephews? What about them? When was the last time any of them called me just to talk? When was the last time anyone asked about my life? You only call when you need something from me. Money for a car. An audience for your judgment. Validation that I'm still trying to be part of a family that keeps pushing me away. No one is pushing you away. You excluded me from Dad's birthday. You told me I was pretending to be important. You've spent years making me feel like my career is a character flaw. That's pushing away, Mom. We just wanted you to be more present. I was trying to be present. I flew home whenever I could. I called. I sent gifts. I made effort. And you responded by not inviting me to a major family event, because you assumed I wouldn't come. You didn't even give me the chance to say yes. Margaret was quiet for a moment. Your father is hurt that you moved without telling him. He can call me and tell me that himself. He has my number. Emma, I have to go. Mom, I have a meeting. She hung up and turned off her phone. She was done explaining herself. Done trying to bridge a gap that only she seemed to notice. Done being the forgotten daughter who kept trying to remember herself back into a family narrative that had written her out. If they wanted her in their lives, they could make the effort for once. 3 months into her London role, Emma's life had transformed completely. The work at Henderson Capital was intense but incredibly fulfilling. They were weeks away from launching their new payment platform, and Emma had structured the financial backend to handle millions of transactions. The board was impressed. Philippa was thrilled. You've exceeded every expectation, Philippa told her during a one-on-one meeting. The board wants to accelerate your equity vesting, and we're promoting you to Chief Operating Officer, in addition to your CFO role. COO and CFO. You've proven you can handle both the financial strategy and operational execution. We need someone who understands the complete picture. That's you. The promotion came with a substantial raise and more equity. Emma was now making over £350,000 annually, with stock options that could be worth millions when the company eventually went public. She'd gone from successful to extraordinarily successful in less than 6 months, and her family had no idea. She'd maintained minimal contact with them. Brief text responses to her mother's increasingly frustrated messages, a birthday card for her father that she'd mailed without a return address, radio silence otherwise. Kevin had tried calling once, leaving a voicemail that was half concerned, half annoyed. Emma, what's going on? Mom says you're in London now? Call me back. She didn't. Lisa had sent a few texts, mostly about how Emma was hurting their parents by being so distant. Emma had read them and deleted them without responding. They wanted her to feel guilty for protecting herself. She refused. Instead, Emma built a life in London. She made friends with colleagues. Started dating a kind, intelligent man named James, who worked in fintech law. Explored the city. Traveled on weekends to Paris and Amsterdam and Edinburgh. Lived a life that was entirely hers. 6 months after moving to London, Emma received an email that changed everything. Emma, I hope this message finds you well. I'm David Wong, Chief Strategy Officer at Atlas Ventures. We're a private equity firm based in London, and we're recruiting for a partner position. Your work at Henderson Capital has been remarkable. Would you be interested in discussing this opportunity? A partner position at a private equity firm. That was the kind of role people spent decades working toward. Emma was 35. The interview process was rigorous. Multiple meetings with partners, case studies, presentations to the investment committee. Emma approached it methodically, bringing all her analytical skills and strategic thinking to bear. They offered her the position 8 weeks later, partner at Atlas Ventures. Base salary of £500,000. Carried interest in the fund that could generate millions in returns. Immediate investment in major tech companies across Europe. Emma accepted. She gave Henderson Capital 3 months' notice to ensure a smooth transition, trained her successor, and moved to Atlas Ventures at the start of the new year. She was now 36 years old, and one of the youngest partners at a major private equity firm. Her work involved identifying promising tech companies, structuring deals, and helping portfolio companies scale across international markets. It was high pressure, high stakes work, and Emma loved every minute of it. She'd been at Atlas for 2 months when her mother called again. It had been nearly a year since Emma had moved to London. "Emma, I need to talk to you about something serious." "What is it?" "Your father had a heart attack." Emma sat down slowly, her chest tightening. "Is he okay?" "He's stable. He had emergency surgery and he's recovering." "But Emma, we need you to come home." "I'll book a flight today." "Good, because he's been asking for you. He wants to see you." Emma booked a flight for the next day, cleared her schedule, and flew back to Boston for the first time in over a year. The flight was long, giving her time to process the complicated emotions churning in her chest. She was worried about her father. Despite everything, she loved him. But she was also angry. Angry that it took a heart attack for her family to actually want her present. Angry that they called it coming home when they'd made it clear she didn't really belong there anymore. She arrived at the hospital late afternoon and found her way to her father's room. Kevin and Lisa were already there, along with her mother. They all looked up when Emma entered, their expressions a mixture of surprise and something else. Judgment maybe, or resentment. "Emma," her mother said, "you came." "Of course I came. He's my father." Her father, William, looked small in the hospital bed. Older than she remembered. Tired. But his eyes were alert when he saw her. "Emma, my girl." She crossed to his bedside, taking his hand carefully. "Hi, Dad. How are you feeling?" "Like I got run over by a truck. But the doctors say I'll be fine." They talked quietly, for a few minutes, Emma asking about his treatment plan, his recovery timeline. Then her mother interrupted. "Emma, we need to discuss care arrangements. Your father will need help when he comes home. We'll need to coordinate schedules. Make sure someone is always here. I can take time off work." Lisa offered immediately. "I can do mornings before my practice opens." Kevin added. They were making plans, organizing care, dividing responsibilities. And no one was looking at Emma or including her in the conversation. "I can fly back on weekends," Emma said. "Coordinate care remotely during the week." Everyone stopped and looked at her. "You're still in London?" Kevin asked. "Yes, I live there now." "Emma, your father just had a heart attack. This is more important than your job." "I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying I have responsibilities. I can't just abandon, but I'll make it work. I'll fly back regularly." "That's not the same as being here," her mother said sharply. "Your father needs family right now, not occasional visits from someone who's too important to actually be present." Emma felt the old hurt flare up, mixing with her worry about her father. "I'm here right now, aren't I? I flew across an ocean as soon as I heard. What more do you want from me? We want you to prioritize family over your career for once." "I've been prioritizing my career because my family made it very clear I wasn't a priority to them. You didn't invite me to Dad's birthday. You stopped including me in family events. You wrote me off as too busy to care. Now you want me to drop everything and move back to Boston. If you actually cared about your father." "Yes." William spoke up, his voice weak but firm. "Margaret, stop." Everyone looked at him. "This isn't Emma's fault. Any of it." He looked at Emma. "I'm sorry, sweetie. Your mother's right that we've been unfair to you. I should have said something a long time ago. Dad, you need to rest." "No, let me say this. You kids need to hear it." He looked at Kevin and Lisa, then back at Margaret. "We pushed Emma away. We punished her for being successful, for making choices we didn't understand, for building a life that didn't look like the one we wanted for her. William, I'm not done." He squeezed Emma's hand. "Emma, I'm proud of you. I should have told you that years ago. I'm proud that you went after what you wanted. I'm proud that you're successful. And I'm sorry that we made you feel like you had to choose between your career and your family." Emma felt tears burning her eyes. "Thank you, Dad. Go back to London. Do your work. Build your life. We'll figure out care for me here. But don't think for a second that you're not part of this family. Margaret looked like she wanted to argue, but Kevin interrupted. Dad's right. Emma, I'm sorry. We've been jerks. Lisa nodded, crying. I'm sorry too. We should have been supporting you, not resenting you. Emma looked at her family, all of them in that hospital room, and realized something important. They were flawed people who'd made mistakes, but they were trying now. In their own messy, imperfect way, they were trying. I love you all, she said. But things are different now. I live in London. I have a career there. A life. And I'm not giving that up. If we're going to be a family, it has to be on terms that work for everyone, not just on your terms. Her mother opened her mouth to argue, but her father stopped her. She's right, Margaret. She's absolutely right. Emma stayed in Boston for a week, helping coordinate care, spending time with her father, slowly rebuilding bridges with her siblings. Then she flew back to London, and her life. But something had shifted. They were talking now, actually communicating. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. 2 years after moving to London, Emma's career had reached heights she'd never imagined. Her work at Atlas Ventures was exceptional, consistently identifying and backing companies that generated massive returns. She'd led investments in 3 startups that had since been acquired or gone public, earning the fund over $200 million in profits. Her reputation in European tech and finance circles was growing rapidly. She was invited to speak at conferences, quoted in Financial Times articles, and courted by other firms trying to recruit her. She'd also become comfortable with her family situation. They talked regularly now, video calls every few weeks, texts about daily life, actual conversations. Her father had recovered well from his heart attack, making lifestyle changes that had improved his health dramatically. Kevin and Lisa had apologized multiple times for how they'd treated her. Her mother was trying, though she still couldn't resist occasionally mentioning that Emma should think about settling down and giving her grandchildren. Emma had learned to laugh off those comments. Let her mother have her opinions. Emma had her own life. That life included James, who she'd been dating for over a year now. He was steady, supportive, genuinely interested in her work and her ambitions. They'd moved in together 6 months ago, a beautiful flat in Notting Hill. Everything was working. Finally completely working. Then Emma received an email that would test everything she'd built. Emma, this is Rebecca Chen from the Wall Street Journal. We're doing a feature on young women revolutionizing private equity. Your name came up repeatedly in our research. Would you be interested in being profiled? The Wall Street Journal, one of the most prestigious financial publications in the world. Emma agreed to the interview, which took place over several weeks. The journalist asked thoughtful questions about her career trajectory, her investment strategy, her perspective on gender and finance. The article published on a Tuesday morning, The New Guard: Women Reshaping Private Equity. Emma was the cover story. The profile was extensive and glowing. It detailed her rapid rise from CFO to partner at Atlas Ventures. It included quotes from colleagues calling her brilliant and strategic. It mentioned her role in several highly successful investments. It noted that she was on track to make over £2 million in carried interest from the fund's current returns. £2 million, about $2.5 million. The article went viral in finance circles. Emma's LinkedIn exploded with connection requests, her inbox filled with messages from recruiters, journalists, and admirers. And then her phone started ringing with calls from Boston. Kevin called first. Emma, I just saw the Wall Street Journal article. Holy shit, £2 million. Potentially, if all our investments perform as projected. That's insane. You're killing it. I'm doing well. Yes. Does Mom know? I have no idea. I haven't talked to her this week. Her mother called 30 minutes later. Emma, people are sending me this Wall Street Journal article. Is this accurate? Yes. You're making $2 million, and that's over several years, not annually. It's carried interest from successful investments. I don't understand what that means, but it sounds like a lot of money. It is. There was a long pause. I wish you'd told us about your success, your promotions. We had no idea you were doing this well. You never asked, Mom. And when I tried to talk about my work, you usually changed the subject, or made comments about how I should be focusing on personal life instead. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to be better about that. I know you are. Lisa called next, excited and supportive. Emma, that article is amazing. You sound like such a badass. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Lisa. Are you happy? In London, I mean. With everything. Emma looked around her flat, at the life she'd built, at James making coffee in the kitchen. Yeah, I really am. Good. You deserve it. Her father called last. Emma, I just finished reading the article. Twice. What did you think? I think you're extraordinary. I think you've built something remarkable. And I think I owe you an apology. Dad, no, let me finish. I spent years not really seeing you, not understanding what you were accomplishing. I was so focused on traditional measures of success that I didn't recognize real achievement when it was right in front of me. I'm sorry, and I'm proud. So incredibly proud. Emma felt tears welling up. Thank you, Dad. That means everything. After she hung up, James came over and pulled her into a hug. How are you doing? Honestly, I feel validated. For years, my family acted like my career was this frivolous thing I was doing instead of having a real life. Now they're finally seeing what I've actually built. Does their validation matter to you? It shouldn't, but yeah, it does. A little bit. That's human. It's okay to want your family to be proud of you. The Wall Street Journal article. Open new doors. Emma was approached by several hedge funds and investment firms with offers that made her Atlas Ventures compensation look modest. She was invited to join the boards of two prominent startups. She was asked to mentor young women entering finance. But the most interesting opportunity came from an unexpected source. A private equity firm in Dubai reached out. They were launching a new fund, focused on tech investments across the Middle East and Southeast Asia. They wanted Emma to be a founding partner. The compensation package was extraordinary, almost vulgar in its generosity. Base salary of £800,000, significant equity in the fund, carried interest that could generate tens of millions if the investments performed well. It would mean leaving London, leaving James, moving to another new city, starting over again. Emma sat with the offer for a week, thinking carefully about what she wanted. She loved London. She loved James. She loved the life she'd built here. But she also loved challenge, loved building things, loved pushing herself to see what she was capable of. She talked to James about it honestly. I don't know what to do. This is an incredible opportunity, but it means uprooting everything again. What does your gut say? That I should take it, that I'll regret it if I don't. But I don't want to lose you. James was quiet for a moment. What if you didn't have to choose? What do you mean? I could come with you. My firm has offices in Dubai. I could transfer. Emma looked at him, stunned. You'd do that. Emma, I love you. I believe in you. If this is what you need to do for your career, I want to support that. We'll figure it out together. She accepted the Dubai position 2 weeks later. Moving to Dubai was simultaneously exhausting and exhilarating. Emma and James relocated together, navigating the complexity of international moves, new visa requirements, and cultural adjustments. But Dubai itself was incredible, a city of gleaming skyscrapers and ambitious vision, perfect for the kind of high-growth tech investments Emma would be focusing on. The new firm, Meridian Capital, gave Emma unprecedented autonomy. As a founding partner, she had significant input into investment strategy, portfolio selection, and fund operations. She was building something from the ground up, which was both terrifying and thrilling. Her family's reaction to the Dubai move had been mixed. Her father was supportive. Kevin was bemused but impressed. Lisa was worried but understanding. Her mother was, well, her mother. Dubai. Emma, that's even further away than London. I know, Mom. When will we see you? I'll fly back for major events. Just like I have been. It's not the same. It never was going to be the same, Mom. I don't live in Boston anymore. I haven't for 3 years. This is my life now. Margaret had sighed heavily. I just wish you were closer. I know, but I'm happy. Doesn't that count for something? Of course it does. I just miss you. That was progress. Real, genuine progress. Emma's first year at Meridian Capital was intense. She led investments in 8 companies across fintech, e-commerce, and artificial intelligence. She spent weeks traveling between Dubai, Singapore, Mumbai, and Tel Aviv, meeting entrepreneurs, conducting due diligence, structuring deals. It was the hardest she'd ever worked, and the most rewarding. By the end of her first year, Meridian's fund was outperforming projections. 3 of Emma's investments had already generated significant returns. The fund's limited partners were thrilled. Emma's reputation was solidifying as one of the most successful investors in emerging tech markets. She was also making more money than she'd ever imagined. Her second year at Meridian, her total compensation exceeded £1 million. She was 38 years old and financially secure for life. She bought a stunning apartment in Dubai Marina with views of both the Palm Jumeirah and the downtown skyline. She traveled extensively for pleasure, visiting places she'd always dreamed of. She supported causes she cared about, making significant donations to educational charities and women in tech initiatives. And she did all of it without needing permission or validation from anyone. Her relationship with her family had settled into a comfortable rhythm. They talked regularly via video calls. She flew back to Boston twice a year for visits. They'd learned to appreciate her for who she was rather than resenting her for who she wasn't. 3 years after moving to Dubai, Emma received a call that brought everything full circle. "Emma, this is Adrian Foster from the Chen Foundation. Your father asked me to reach out to you about a potential board position." The Chen Foundation, I'm not familiar with it. It's a new family foundation your father established. He's endowing it with $5 million to support education initiatives for first-generation college students. He specifically wants you involved in the governance. Emma was stunned. Her father, who'd never really understood her career, who'd let her mother exclude her from family events, was now creating a foundation and asking her to help run it. "I'm honored. Of course I'll be involved." The first board meeting happened virtually, with Emma joining from Dubai, while the rest of her family gathered in Boston. Her father opened the meeting by sharing his vision for the foundation. "I've been thinking a lot about opportunity and access, about how some people get chances and others don't. Emma, you've always made your own opportunities. You left home, built a career, succeeded on your own terms. That took courage I didn't fully appreciate until recently." He paused, looking directly at the camera, at Emma on his screen. "This foundation is partly inspired by you, by watching you create success that nobody handed you. I want to help other kids do the same thing." Emma felt her throat tighten. "Dad, that's beautiful. Will you help me make it happen?" "Absolutely." Over the next year, Emma worked closely with her father and the foundation team to establish grant programs, create mentorship initiatives, and build partnerships with universities. It gave them a way to connect that transcended their complicated history. They were building something together, something meaningful. Her mother even came around eventually, grudgingly admitting that Emma's business expertise was proving valuable for the foundation's operations. "I still think you work too much, Margaret," said during one video call. "But I suppose if you're going to be workaholic, at least you're successful at it." "Thanks, Mom. I think I'm trying to say I'm proud of you. I'm just not very good at it." "I know. I appreciate the effort." 4 years after moving to Dubai, Emma was 40 years old, and at the peak of her career, Meridian Capital's fund had closed its first investment cycle, with returns exceeding 30% annually. Emma's carried interest from the fund was worth over £15 million. £15 million. About $18 million. She was not just financially successful, she was wealthy. Genuinely, life-changingly wealthy. The irony wasn't lost on her. The family who'd once dismissed her as too focused on career, who'd excluded her from birthday parties because they assumed she was too busy to care, now called her for business advice and financial guidance. Kevin had started asking her opinion on investments for his kids' college funds. Lisa wanted advice on negotiating her salary as she moved into school administration. Even her mother called occasionally to discuss the foundation's endowment strategy. Emma helped them all, generously and without judgment, but she also maintained clear boundaries. Her success was hers. She'd share knowledge and guidance, but she wouldn't be treated as a family ATM or expected to solve everyone's problems. She'd learned that lesson the hard way. On her 40th birthday, Emma threw herself a party in Dubai. A sophisticated celebration at her apartment, attended by colleagues, friends, and James's legal partners. It was elegant, fun, and entirely on her own terms. Her family joined via video call for a toast. Kevin and Lisa and their families crowded around a laptop in Boston, her parents sitting together on their couch. To Emma, her father said, raising his glass to the camera, "Who taught us all what it means to build a life that matters? We're proud of you, sweetie. Happy birthday." Everyone drank, and Emma felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the champagne. Later that night, after the party wound down and the guests left, Emma and James sat on her balcony overlooking the city. "How does it feel?" James asked. 40. Successful. Everything you've built. "It feels right," Emma said. "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "Any regrets?" "About leaving Boston?" "No." "About the years of hurt with my family?" "Sometimes, but I also know that hurt led me here. If they hadn't excluded me, if they'd valued me from the beginning, I might have stayed close to home, might have played it safe, might never have discovered what I was capable of." "So you're grateful they forgot to invite you to your father's birthday party?" Emma laughed. "I wouldn't go that far, but I'm grateful for how I responded to it. I could have stayed bitter, stayed close to home trying to prove myself to people who wouldn't see me. Instead, I left. I built something remarkable, and eventually they came around. Not everyone's family comes around. I know. I'm lucky. It took time and work and setting boundaries, but we got there." 6 months after her 40th birthday, Emma received an opportunity that represented the culmination of everything she'd worked toward. A major international investment firm wanted to acquire Meridian Capital. The deal would make Emma's stake worth over £30 million. She'd also be offered a senior partner position at the acquiring firm, with a compensation package that was frankly absurd. But more than the money, it was validation. Recognition that what she'd built mattered, that her instincts and strategy and work had created real value. She accepted the acquisition deal and the new position. At 40 years old, Emma Chen was a senior partner at one of the world's largest investment firms, with a personal net worth exceeding $40 million. She'd gone from the forgotten daughter, uninvited to her father's birthday party, to one of the most successful investors in international tech. And she'd done it entirely on her own terms. The acquisition of Meridian Capital made international business news. Rising star investment firm acquired for $500 million, read the Financial Times headline. Emma was quoted extensively in the coverage, discussing the firm's strategy and the future of tech investment in emerging markets. Her family called immediately. All of them, together on a group video call they'd apparently planned in advance. "Emma, we saw the news," her father said. "We wanted to say congratulations. And also we wanted to say something we should have said years ago." Kevin spoke next. "We're sorry for how we treated you. For making you feel like you didn't matter. For excluding you from family events, because we were jealous of your success." "Jealous?" Emma asked, surprised. Lisa nodded. "Yeah. You were doing these incredible things, building this amazing career, and it made us feel small, like we weren't doing enough with our lives. Instead of being proud of you, we resented you, and that was wrong." Even Margaret spoke up. "Emma, I spent years trying to make you fit into a box. The dutiful daughter who lived close to home, got married, had children. When you wouldn't fit, I blamed you. But the truth is, you were never meant for that box. You were meant for exactly what you've built. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." Emma felt tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, all of you. That means more than you know. We also wanted to tell you," her father continued, that we've been reading everything we can find about your work, the interviews, the articles, the case studies. We're trying to actually understand what you do, why it matters. And Emma, it's incredible. You're not just successful, you're making real impact, funding companies that are changing industries, creating jobs, solving problems. I appreciate you taking the time to learn about it. We should have done it years ago. Can you forgive us? Emma thought carefully about her answer. I already have forgiven you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean going back to how things were. We've built something new now, a relationship based on mutual respect, instead of obligation. I want to keep building that. So do we, Kevin said, on your terms. After the call, James found Emma still sitting at her desk, staring at her computer screen. Everything okay? Yeah. Actually, everything's better than okay. My family just apologized. Really genuinely apologized. How does that feel? Complicated. Good, but complicated. I spent so many years wanting that apology, thinking it would fix everything. Now that I have it, I realize I don't actually need it anymore. I've already moved past the hurt, built my own life, my own success, my own sense of worth. But it's still nice to have. Yeah, it's still nice. Emma spent the next year in her new role at the acquiring firm, overseeing a portfolio of tech companies worth billions. She traveled constantly, spoke at major conferences, was interviewed by leading business publications. Her reputation grew from regional success story to global investment leader. At 41, she was invited to give the keynote address at a major tech investment conference in Singapore. The audience included hundreds of investors, entrepreneurs, and business leaders from across Asia. Standing at that podium, looking out at the crowd, Emma thought about her journey. From the forgotten daughter, excluded from a birthday party, to a woman whose investment decisions moved markets, and whose strategic insights shaped industries. The speech she gave that day wasn't about investment strategy or market trends. It was about resilience, self-determination, and refusing to accept other people's limitations. 15 years ago, Emma began. I was working as a junior analyst, making barely enough to cover rent in San Francisco. My family thought my career was a distraction from what really mattered: marriage, children, proximity to home. They dismissed my ambitions. They excluded me from family celebrations. They made me feel like my success was a character flaw. The audience was silent, attentive. I could have believed them, could have accepted their definition of success and my place in the family hierarchy. But instead, I made a different choice. I decided that their opinion of me didn't have to be my opinion of myself. I decided to build something remarkable, not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. She paused, letting that sink in. Today I'm a senior partner at one of the world's largest investment firms. I've helped build companies that employ thousands of people and serve millions of customers. I've generated billions in economic value. And yes, my family is proud of me now. But more importantly, I'm proud of myself. The applause was thunderous. After the speech, dozens of people approached her. Young women in tech and finance, telling her she'd inspired them. Entrepreneurs thanking her for believing in their visions. Colleagues congratulating her on her candor. One woman, probably in her late 20s, waited until everyone else had gone before approaching. Miss Chen, thank you for that speech. I'm currently going through something similar with my family. They don't understand my career choices. They think I should be focusing on getting married, instead of building my startup. Your story gives me hope that it gets better. Emma smiled. It does get better. But not because your family changes, though sometimes they do. It gets better because you stop needing them to validate you. You start validating yourself. How did you do that? I focused on building something I believed in. I measured success by my own metrics, not theirs. And I surrounded myself with people who supported my ambitions, instead of diminishing them. It took time, and it hurt sometimes, but it was worth it. The young woman thanked her and left, and Emma thought about how far she'd come. not just professionally, but personally, from someone who desperately wanted family approval to someone who'd learned to live magnificently without it. Though in a twist she hadn't expected, she'd eventually gotten that approval anyway. 5 years after the Meridian Capital acquisition, Emma was 45 years old and considering semi-retirement. Not because she had to, but because she'd accomplished everything she'd set out to achieve and more. She'd made her mark on the investment world. She'd generated enormous returns for her firms and their investors. She'd helped build companies that had become industry leaders. She'd mentored dozens of young professionals, particularly women, helping them navigate the complex world of high finance. And she'd done it all while building a life she loved. She and James had married 3 years ago in a small ceremony in Santorini. They'd bought a second home in the south of France, where they spent summers. They traveled extensively, worked on philanthropic projects, enjoyed their success without apology. Her relationship with her family had evolved into something healthy and sustaining. They'd found a rhythm that worked for everyone. Regular video calls, annual visits to Boston, occasional family trips where everyone came to visit Emma in Dubai or France. Her father's foundation had grown substantially, now supporting hundreds of first-generation college students. Emma served as board chair, using her business expertise to guide the foundation's growth and impact. Kevin and Lisa had both visited her in Dubai multiple times, finally understanding why she loved it. They'd seen her life, her work, her accomplishments firsthand. The resentment was gone, replaced with genuine pride and support. Even her mother had softened completely. During their last video call, Margaret had said something that nearly made Emma cry. "Emma, I want you to know something. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand, but I finally get it. You didn't choose career over family. You chose authenticity over conformity. You chose your truth over our expectations. And that took more courage than I ever gave you credit for. Thanks, Mom. That means everything. I wish I'd been brave like you. I wish I'd pursued my own dreams, instead of living the life everyone expected me to live. But I can't change the past. I can only tell you that I'm grateful you didn't make my mistakes." They'd talked for an hour after that, really talked maybe for the first time ever. On her 45th birthday, Emma threw a major celebration, not just for herself, but as a thank you to everyone who'd supported her journey. She flew her entire family to Dubai, all expenses paid. She invited colleagues, friends, mentors, people who'd believed in her when she was just starting out. The party was held at the Burj Al Arab, Dubai's most iconic hotel, with views of the Arabian Gulf and the city skyline. Over 200 people attended, celebrating not just Emma's birthday but her remarkable career. During the dinner, her father stood to give a toast. "Most of you know that Emma and I didn't always have the easiest relationship. I didn't understand her choices. I didn't value her ambitions. I let my own narrow definition of success blind me to what she was building." He looked at Emma, his eyes glistening. "Emma, you were right and I was wrong. About everything. You knew who you were and what you wanted, and you had the courage to pursue it even when your own family doubted you. That's not just successful, that's heroic." He raised his glass. "To Emma, who taught us all that the only approval you really need is your own." Everyone drank, and Emma felt a completeness she'd never experienced before. Later that night, after most guests had left, Emma stood on the hotel's terrace with James, looking out at the glittering city. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking about that day in the coffee shop with Kevin, when he told me they hadn't invited me to Dad's party. When he said I was always too busy pretending to be important. That was 15 years ago. I know, and look where I am now. Partner at a major investment firm, 45 years old with a net worth that lets me do whatever I want for the rest of my life. Married to an amazing man, with a family that finally understands and values me. You've built something extraordinary." "I have, but you know what's crazy? If they had invited me to that party, none of this might have happened. I might have stayed in San Francisco, stayed in that comfortable CFO role, never taken the risks that led me here. So you're grateful they forgot you?" Emma laughed. "I'm grateful for how I responded to being forgotten. I could have stayed bitter, stayed small, accepted their narrative about who I was. Instead, I chose to write my own story. I chose to prove to myself, not to them, that I was capable of remarkable things. She turned to face James. That's what I want people to understand. It's not about revenge or proving people wrong. It's about choosing yourself. Believing in yourself enough to build the life you actually want, not the life other people expect you to live. You've definitely done that. I have. And it's been worth every difficult moment. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city lights reflect off the water. Emma thought about the forgotten daughter she'd been at 35, hurt and excluded, wondering why she wasn't enough. And she thought about the woman she'd become, successful, fulfilled, loved, and most importantly at peace with herself. The irony was that her family valued her now. They called her for advice, bragged about her accomplishments, included her in everything. But Emma no longer needed their validation. She'd learned to validate herself, to measure her worth by her own standards, to build a life so full and rich that other people's opinions became irrelevant. That was the real success. Not the money, though that was nice. Not the titles or the recognition, though those were satisfying. The real success was the inner certainty that she was enough, exactly as she was, regardless of what anyone else thought. Her family had forgotten to invite her to a birthday party. She'd responded by building an empire, and a life so remarkable that they couldn't help but take notice. But by the time they did, Emma had already moved beyond needing them to see her. She'd learned to see herself, and that was the greatest achievement of all.